Good evening, everyone. Please let me know if you can see and hear me clearly. I'm just going to allow a few moments to pass for others to join. Hi to everyone joining. Hi, Susie. Sarah says loud and clear. Awesome. Good evening, everyone. My name is Caroline Teixeira, and I'm so excited to be here with you this evening. I'm a proud Cricut ambassador, and I'm so excited to be here tonight on my first live, showing you how to do a beautiful Heritage Day inspired 7-layered shadow box with a few foil accents on some of the layers. Tonight is a beginner's class, and it is proudly sponsored by Cricut South Africa and Logitech. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Amy. Awesome. So please do engage in the comments. If you have any questions or anything, any recommendations or anything that you would like to say, please pop it on the comments. I'm keeping an eye on the comments, and there is a lovely group of admins ready to answer any questions as well. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen with my project and all the supplies that you're going to be needing for tonight's class, and let's get started. So this is the project that we are going to be creating this evening. It is 7 layers of cardstock with 2 of the layers having foil accents. And it is so, so beautiful. Just look at that sparkle in the light. It is so gorgeous. Now with this, you have 3 different options in which you can do this. So I have this wooden box that I've had in my cupboard for many years now. I bought it a couple of years ago and I've never had a use for it. And so I used it for this project. So you can either have this, or you can have a box cut from cardstock, where on Cricut Design Space you will find tons and tons of templates and projects already shared, and you can create your very own. So what I did is I measured the inside of my box so that I could create the exact measurements for this project so that it could fit all snug into the box. What I also did was, if you do not have a box that way, I created this little stand or flap thingy so that it can stand on its own. And we will be creating that this evening using only 3 shapes. Okay, so for tonight we are going to be using a Cricut machine and a light grip mat. This is the blue mat and it is perfect for cardstock. Also, of course, we are going to be using cardstock. This is the Fabriano cocktail, I believe, in all these colors that represent our beautiful South African flag. And we are going to be using this beautiful Cricut foil transfer sheet in color rose gold. And of course, with that, we are going to be using our foiling transfer tool with the medium tip, and this is the one that has the 2 lines. I hope you can see it. This tool is compatible with all the series Explore series machines and also the Maker series. There is a Cricut foiling transfer tool as well that is compatible with the Joy series, the Cricut Joy and also the Cricut Joy Extra, and that one only has one tip. We are going to be needing a brayer. This is your best friend. I will not be using it too much tonight because I'm using two brand new mats, and that is so exciting. I love a brand new mat. And some foam adhesive squares to put in between the layers to create some depth. And also your glue of choice. I'm going to be using this magic glue that Claudia actually discovered on one of our Cricut demos, and I've been using it ever since. All right, so we can head on over to Cricut Design Space so we can start. Okay, so this is my canvas and this is the project already made. And we are going to be creating this from scratch. So this is super exciting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and I'm going to hide it so that we can start from scratch. Hello to everyone joining. Welcome. Okay, so the very first thing we are going to be needing is a square shape. So I'm heading on over to the Shapes tab and selecting a square. Now this project has 7 layers, one being the background, and it's going to be plain. So essentially for each border, we are going to be needing 2 squares so that we can slice to create the border. So I'm going to be needing a total of 13 squares. So one being the border, the background, and then the rest of them needing 2. So I'm going to duplicate this 12 times so that we are left with 13. 12. There we go. I'm going to select them all, align and center so that we can work nice and neat. Okay, so the very first one I am going to just rename it to 0 so that I can work from the bottom going up, and I'm going to hide it so that is out of the way. Now for our very first layer that we are going to be working from the bottom going up, we are going to, I just need to go back quickly. I just want to quickly resize this for the measurements that I want. So of course I did it the specific centimeters so that it could fit snug into my wooden box. And so when I measured, it was 12 centimeters, and that is what we are going to be working with today. So I'm just going to change that up to 12, and because it is a square, it is the same on both sides, and there we have it. Okay, now I can hide my very first layer. Okay, and now I'm going to be working with 2 of them at a time. So the one on top, I'm going to first of all change its color. Let's say to pink. Move it onto the top. And also I'm going to be changing it to the guide function. Just because I want to display here and show you just how I came about doing this. So I wanted it to be proportionally looking correct, if I can put it that way. So I went ahead and measured, more or less eyeballed it onto exactly what I think would have looked quite nice for my very small window. And I went with 8 centimeters because I think that looked quite nice with quite a thick border around each side so that I can create each layer. So that for me looked good. And I am going to now change it back to the basic operation and aligning them center, and I'm going to slice them so that I can create that window. I'm going to remove the 2, and there, that is our very first border. I'm going to rename this to 1 and have these two aligned and centered. Okay, so because this is a beginner's class, I am going to just show you how I make it easy for myself. So there are 7 colors going in a row, and I'm going to be changing each of them to one of these colors so that I can see the gradients working from the bottom layer all the way to the top. So the 0, which is our very first layer, which is our background layer, I'm going to make it brown. And then our second layer, which is 1. Oh, sorry, nothing is happening. Sorry about that. Let me quickly see what's going on here. Let me exit Design Space quickly. Just give me a second. Thank you for everyone coming to my rescue. Oh goodness. Okay, let's try that again. I'm so sorry, guys. Let's try this again. It is still frozen. Let me have a look. It was working earlier. Technical gremlins, definitely. Sorry about that, guys. I'm just trying to sort it out. Just give me a couple of minutes and seconds. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, it is working. I'm so sorry about that. But we are good to go. Please confirm on your side. There we go. Okay, there we go. Please confirm if you can see me now clearly. I do apologize for that. Technical difficulties, but we are good to go. Okay, so like I mentioned, we need 13 squares in total. All good now. Okay, wonderful. So we need 13 squares in total. Okay, now I need to count 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13. Okay, I'm going to select them all and center. Whoops. Align and center. Okay, there we go. I just want to make sure. $13. Okay, perfect. All right. Now we are going to resize it. My wooden box inside measured to 12 centimeters. So that is the measurements that we are going to go with. And like I mentioned before, I'm going to take my very first one and I'm going to change and rename it to 0 and work up that way. And I'm going to hide it. And then I'm going to be working 2 by 2 squares so that every border is made using the slice feature. Okay, so I'm going to change its color so that we can see. And like I mentioned previously, I'm going to also just change it to the guide so that this is how you are going to eyeball it so that you can make sure how you would like your window to look like. So this is essentially going to be the very small, the smallest layer, the smallest window that we are going to be creating. So you can go however big, however small you would like. I thought that 8 centimeters would look proportionally correct. So I'm just going to change that to 8. And select them both, center, and that is what I was happy with. And once again, change the operations to a basic cut. Select 2 and slice it. And I'm going to delete that to create the window. Remember, when slicing, you can only do 2 layers at a time. And like I mentioned earlier as well, this is a beginner's class. So this just made it a little bit easier for me to visualize how I'm going to be seeing all the different layers. So the very first one, I'm going to unhide it. And I have here, by the colors, 7 colors running from left to right. So I'm going to be working from the right, going to the left, each layer making it a color so that we can essentially see how the gradient goes. I'm going to move our first border up renaming it to 1, censoring it, and I'm going to quickly change this to the very next color so that we can see which it is already. It is black, and there we have it. I'm going to hide those two and work with the next two again. Now, I've got a little bit of OCD, so what I did is for each border, I wanted each border to have the same dimensions. So I went with each border measuring at 0.45. So I'm going to have to add that measurement to my measurements to create a bigger window to see that very first border underneath it. So I'm going to change it to 8.45. And once again, just change the color so that you can see. Moving it up and making sure they are centered and slicing it. And there is our next layer. Changing it to 2 and once again changing the color so that we can have a look at our gradients. Okay. So the next two, top one, changing its color. And then I added a 0.45 once again, and that gave me 8.9. Okay, once again, centering it and slicing to remove the inner. I'm going to rename it and change its color. 0, 1, 2, 3. And moving it to the top. Okay, next one, changing its color again. Changing the dimensions to a 9.35. Centering them too, and slicing. Okay, once again renaming it just to make life easier. Going to the next color, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There is method to my madness, so please just trust the process. Okay, once again doing the same. And these dimensions are 9.8. Okay, selecting the two, make sure it's centered and slice. So I'm going to just show you what it is looking like so far. 5. Bringing it up, and I'm going to unhide these so that you can see how it is looking. Align and center. So you're seeing this beautiful gradient going from the 0, the brown, then the black, the lighter gray, even more lighter gray, and so forth. And it is so cool. Okay, now the very last two. Once again, changing the top one's color. Changing its measurements to 10.25. And like I said, they all have a border of 0.45. This is obviously your personal preference. This is just what worked for my measurements, and yeah, you can see what works then for you. And I'm going to be deleting these two and changing the color, renaming it to 6, and it's our final layer, bringing it all the way to the top here on the layers panel. And there we have it. There is our template for our shadow box this evening, done and dusted. So what would be awesome to do now is to actually save this as a project, as a shadow square box project, so that you can always come back and take it as a template and create your very own project for future projects. Okay, so what we are going to be doing tonight is we are going to be making this a heritage shadow box. So this can essentially work with any shape. If you take a heart or a pentagon or a rectangle or whatever the case is, you can just follow these steps, creating however many layers you want to, bigger, smaller, and it's completely up to you what you would like to create. So this is a very fun project. Shadow boxes are seriously one of my favorites. My favorite projects to do, and I'm probably going to say this a lot. I absolutely have lots of favorites, but I absolutely really do love shadow boxes. They are so versatile and super fun. Okay, so my very first layer, my background layer, I'm going to keep it as plain as it is, and I'm going to change it to black, and I'm going to hide it for now. And I'm going to be working from the bottom layer up. Okay, so this one is my very first layer, and I'm going to change it to yellow. Heading on over to images, and I chose the South African map. I think I wrote South Africa. Yes. Okay, so this means that it has been bookmarked. So I could go over here to this tab over here and click on bookmarked, and it will show me all the images that I have bookmarked. And this is very awesome as a reference point to have so that you can make your projects easier. Okay, so I'm going to resize it. Just going to zoom in a little bit more so that we can see nicely. Okay. So what I think would be easier is to have quite a solid border when it comes to adding images to your layers, only because it needs to be touching on at least one or more sides, so that it doesn't have to be flimsy, and that it will create a cohesive layer. So I'm happy with this, and with this incision it is solid enough that it will work perfectly. So there are other maps that have a lot of maybe all the provinces cut out, and that would also work well. What I would suggest then doing is maybe creating an offset just so that the border could be a little bit thicker and a little bit more solid. But I am quite happy with this. I don't want to lose too much of the map's shape and outline, so I'm just allowing for it to touch on each layer. I'm going to change it to the guide so that you can see. So it is basically only just overlapping, and that is perfect. I'm going to change this again to basic cut, and I'm changing it, wrong yellow. And I'm going to select the two, and I'm going to go on over to the combine tab, and I'm going to unite them. Why I'm uniting and not welding is because uniting is editable. So if I go over here, I can resize this at a later stage if I want to, or remove it entirely. Whereas weld, it is together forever and it is irrevocable. So if I had to save this project right now, next time this would be one solid object and I would not be able to edit it. So I am choosing unite in this case, and that is perfect and so beautiful. And there you have the two together, and it is so cool. Okay, I'm going to hide these two and work on the next layer. I'm actually going to just rename this again. Okay, and now the next layer, I'm going to make it red, and we are going to be adding a beautiful protea, which is our national flower. Once again, going on to our images tab, I chose this beautiful image. Just going to resize it. Oopsie. Okay. Okay, now this is a multi-layered image. So I'm going to actually be removing all of these layers, and I'm only going to be left with the outline, which is what I want. Now the outline is actually going to be our foil accent, and I'm going to place it on top over here. Now, to create the background to connect with the cardstock border, I'm going to add an offset. So I'm going on over here. Oops, I need to select the image. And I'm going to go here to offset. And this I'm just going to eyeball it, and I want to create a bit of a border so that I can see both the foil item and also the cardstock, so that it can have a beautiful contrast. So I'm quite happy with that measurement. Maybe just slightly, no, that is good. I'm going to apply, and I'm going to change it to the red again so that we can visualize it. I am going to bring these two layers as well, just so that I can see how it looks. Okay. Let's move this one to the top as well. There we go. And then there we have it. So there you can place it wherever you would like, provided that it is overlapping at least on one side or more, so that it can become one solid layer. You don't have to mind that there is these small incisions, because that would actually give it a lot more depth when it comes to color, and it will be solid enough to stand. So I am quite happy with that. Just want to change it to a guide just to make sure it is overlapping. It's a little bit difficult to see with the red, but I am quite happy with that. Make sure just to select them both. I am quite happy with that. I actually like that yellow is peeking in over there. Okay, so I'm going to select these two because they are the same function. They are both a basic cut. And once again, I'm only going to unite, not weld, just in case I want to change it a little bit later. And that is then doable. And I'm going to attach the two so that when we hit the make window, it will do it on as one. Okay, and now our third layer, I'm going to change it to blue. Let's go with navy blue, or the darkest blue rather. And I chose for this image a fist. And this is a symbol of solidarity. And I'm going to hit the bookmark tab, and that is the image that I chose. I absolutely love Design Space. There are thousands, if not millions, images to choose from, and it is so awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the contour feature, and I'm going to actually hide all contours. Just makes it a little bit easier to select only the ones that I want. I only want one of them, and that is the one I chose. So I'm just going to resize it ever so slightly. and place it more or less where I had my previous one. I actually should leave the layers. There we go. I'm going to center it. Okay, and I just want to eyeball, make sure I'm happy with its placing, and I am quite happy with that. So once again, I am overlapping it ever so slightly just so that it connects and overlaps so that I can create one solid border, one solid layer. Okay, and I'm going to change this to foil, and I'm going to change it to the medium. I do recommend using the medium and also the fine points when it comes to small and delicate images like this, but I'm also such a big fan of the bold tip for bigger projects. Okay, and then I'm going to go on over to the pencil and I'm going to create an offset. And I'm actually quite happy with that offset as well, making sure that there is enough border to see the foil and the cardstock layers. And I'm going to hit apply. Now the offset I'm going to change to a basic cut, and I'm going to change its color just so that I can visualize it. And I'm happy with that. Selecting both of my same operations and uniting them. Then I'm going to take my foil layer and that and attaching. I just want to quickly go back to this one and change this to a base, from a basic cut to the foiling medium. There we have it. Now you can visualize it better. That is looking so gorgeous. Okay, and I'm going to rename that to number 3, and going on to our next layer, bringing it all the way to the top, and I'm changing this one to green. There we are. And for this layer I chose the springbucks. And this is a symbol of unity and our national pride. I think I chose this one, or was it this one? It was this one. I have it bookmarked. I think it's so cute. I'm assuming it's a mommy and a baby. And it is just so beautiful. Okay, and I'm going to flip it horizontally. Yay. I always get confused with those two. I'm going to just zoom it in and making sure there is a very fine area of overlapping on both sides, just so that she's not loose over there. And I'm happy with that. And there's going to be a small incision over there by her tail, but I'm happy with that so that the blue can shine through a little bit. I'm happy with that. Just making sure a little bit down. And you can see that little bit of the grass over there, which is quite nice. Well, it says here they are gazelles, but we are going with springbucks. I do not know if it is the same thing, but there we have it. Okay, uniting it once again and changing this to 4. Okay, our second last layer. I'm moving it all the way to the top, moving it over here. Selecting all of them and centering it so that we can just see the full picture. And this one I went with the blue crane and I made it white. The last layer of or the last color layer of our flag. Once again, heading on over to our images and typing blue crane, which is our national bird. Very cool. And this is the one I chose. Just resizing it. Much smaller. Okay, and flipping it horizontally again. This one I'm going to keep quite big, overlapping it ever so slightly on both layers, changing it to white so that we can just see. And I'm happy with that, happy with seeing those layers. I actually do like that a lot. I think I'm going to connect the foot though as well, just so that it is not just loose. I'll rather have her face and head loose. And I'm happy with that. So these two are going to unite. And the very last layer, just to create a border, I left it as black to match the background. And there is our project. Align and center, all good and done. And I think that looks really, really cool. I'm just going to group it so that I can move it together. And I'm so happy with how that came out. Now, for the stand, I'm going to be showing you how to create it using 3 shapes to create one stand. So I went with the pentagon and 2 squares. I'm going to select all 3 of them, just bring it down here, and I'm just going to rotate this entirely so that I can work off my shadow layers. Okay, so I took a frame that I had at home, and I basically just made my own little shape using the template of it. Okay. Just want to make sure. I think I did it. I think I did it this way. Okay. Changing this color as well. I resized this one first. There we go. That looks more correct. That is looking more like what we are looking for. Okay, and then I added this one here to create that solid base over there. Just making sure I'm rotating it and it is aligning perfectly. Now these 2 shapes I am going to select them 2, and these 2 I'm going to weld because I do want these to be married and be together forever, because I'm creating this stand to be one piece. Okay, changing this again, and basically going to slice that this way. So this is the part where it's going to be standing on the table, and over here it's going to be glued onto the frame, and you can also use this as a different angle if you want to display it on a different side. So these two I'm going to select, and I'm going to slice them from one another, deleting the parts that I don't need, and there is our little stand. Now we just need a score line. Okay. Sizing it down. Rotating it. Just to create a little flap where the glue is going to go. And I'm happy with that. Selecting the two and attaching. And I'm going to duplicate them, and I'm going to glue them together just to create more of a solid, stronger base. Okay, and I am happy with those. I am going to just hide them all and go with my original. I don't know why the layers have changed, but here it is. Just changing that to red. And this one to blue, and my springbucks to green, and my blue crane to white. Okay, good. And I'm going to click on Make It. I'm going to be using a mat. And what I'm going to do here, just for the sake of time, I am going to be cutting 2 layers at a time so that we can be on time. So I'm going to move this object that does not have any foil, and it is green. I'm going to move it to my very first layer over here. And as you can see, it changed its color, but that doesn't matter. I'm just going to move it down here so that on my mat I can have both my white and my green, because I know what colors I've chosen, and it's going to cut it simultaneously. So what's so awesome about Design Space, it's so clever that it changes or adds all your different colored layers onto its own mat, so it takes out the guesswork for you, and this is basically your project as is. I just want to see where my stand is. I didn't hide that. Okay. Okay, so once again, I'm moving this object to my very first mat, and it's changed its color, but we know we're going to be using the green for it so that it can cut simultaneously. And I'm going to be doing the same for the 2 layers that have the foil. So I'm going to be moving this one to the blue. And I'm actually going to be moving it a little bit to the middle. And you'll see why in a second. I just want to make sure that there is enough space so that I can add the foil and the tape, and it will not be in the way of the machine. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'll do the yellow and the black on their own. I'm going to just move this one down. Okay, I'm happy with that. So let me change my screen, and okay, here we are. So here is my light mat. Removing the protective layer. It is quite a new mat, and it is so satisfying to be using a new mat. So I need to just make sure I'm using my right colors. So the white is the top, making sure it is aligned well. Okay, and my green. This cardstock has a little bit of a texture, which is so beautiful. Okay, I'm going to just go down slightly. I'm going to hit continue, load it onto my mat, onto my machine rather, and I'm going to be selecting my material, medium stock, and there we go. While that is cutting, I'm going to be using another mat and placing my next layers on it. Please remember to remove your protective layer and turning it around so that it is face up, and then once you are done with your mat, to cover it once again, just to protect it from any dust or debris, so that we can extend the longevity of our mats. Okay. I'm going to check the comments. Okay, I'm going to unload. There are my 2 layers, and I'm going to be cutting the yellow one next. Okay, because we are working with cardstock and I do not want to damage my project, I'm flipping over my mat and removing my project material from my mat. Being extra careful. So this prevents it from curling. And there is the one. I love the speed of the maker fall. I'm super chuffed with this. The speed actually just makes it more fun, giving us more time to do more projects. Okay. Once again, turning my mat upside down. Oh, this one's really stuck. Just using my weeder just to carefully remove it. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to use my scraper to remove those 2. And I'm going to cut the black now. Just making sure that I have enough material and it corresponds with my mat on my screen. Will this be enough? Yes, this will be enough as well. So I'm going to be cutting the stand, the back layer and the top layer. Just bring it down a little bit and choosing my material. Now here I'm going to be changing what it's recommended, the tools. It's recommending me to put in my single scoring wheel, but I'm actually going to be changing it to my scoring stylus. Why I love doing that for this very simple project is that I can add my, whoops, please excuse me. I like to add my scoring stylus onto my clamp A and leaving my fine point blade into clamp B, and that way it will score and it will cut without me needing to change out any tools. Okay, I'm going to click on glow. I'm going to start just organizing my layers. Whoops. Okay. And now just making sure which colors needs to be where. So the protea I'm going to be placing down here. And my fist on top. Okay, and now I'm going to once again choose medium cardstock, and I'm going to make sure that I align my foil with where it needs to go. Okay, so luckily these are two small pieces, so I can actually use one sheet for both. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting it in half. Okay. And placing it more or less where it needs to go. And like I said, Design Space takes all the guessing work out and shows me exactly, like the numbers on the mat, it shows me exactly on the mat on my screen, and I can place it exactly where it goes. Now, this tape that comes with the foil transfer kit is reusable, and what I like to do is I like to just first place the first piece, and then taking the very opposite side, sticking the foil, pulling on it, and then sticking on it. We need to make sure that it is taut enough so that it can create a seamless transfer. Okay, once again, I grab the foil with the tape, pull and stick. Grab it, the foil. Pull and stick. Okay, making sure this one is placed correctly. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Sticking it down. Opposite side, pulling and sticking. Grab the transfer, the foil, pull and stick. Grabbing, I'm pulling a bit too hard now. Pull and stick. And there we go. So on my screen it is showing me to change my tool, which I will be doing now. I've got this nifty goodie where it holds all my blades, and I do recommend getting it. It is so aesthetic and it keeps everything organized and so cute. I love it. Okay, and I'm going to click go. So most of the time, I'm assuming every single time, it will make you foil first before doing the cut. Okay, so while that is busy, I am going to work on my project. Here are the score lines. I'm going to fold that, and I'm going to glue it together just to create that solid base. Making sure it aligns properly on all sides and allowing that to set. Okay, this is my first layer, and I'm going to be working from the bottom up. Okay, so it has foiled beautifully and perfectly, and I'm going to remove the foil. Oh, that looks so beautiful. And I'm going to change out my tool to the fine point blade and clicking on go. Now the pieces that we have used of foil, or the piece that has adhered to the cardstock, is no longer reusable, but you can cut around it just to salvage what is left for future projects. Okay, so I'm going to be flipping on over the first layer and adding our foam squares. Okay, so our machine is done, and this is the fun part. Oh, all parts are fun. Designing it, cutting it, assembling it, it is all fun here. But I just love how a project comes together in the end, and it is so exciting. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to stand it. Oh, put the project standing rather. And whoops, aligning the two onto the table and using my hands to align the sides, and there is our first layer. Okay, let's remove these two carefully. These two only have a very small area in which it is stuck to the border. Okay, let's take away all of these layers and look how beautiful it foils. I hope you can see with the light. Oh wow, look at that. I love sparkles, so I will always add glitter or foil to any project, and I'm always happy. Okay. Just want to make sure of all my layers. Okay, so I think it was the fist first, then the red, then the green, then the white. Yes, yes, okay, good. So I'm going to be turning it around, adding some foam squares. And what is so awesome about the foil is that you can add it to any project that is made out of cardstock, like the one we just created, or just a beautiful addition to wedding invitations or birthday cards. And also you can also use it for faux leather, which you can create beautiful earrings, and that is also such a fun project to create. So it is very versatile and very cool, and adds the most beautiful sparkle. And there are tons of different colors as well. There is rose gold, like we used tonight. There is gold, silver, I've seen green, pinks, and I think they usually come in a pack of 3 with 3 different colors. So that is so fun. And really, you can make a very simple and small project, small details really come to life with the foil. Okay, just removing the protective layer. And this one is upside down. Okay, there we are. And I'm going to be using the smaller ones for this one because our border is becoming smaller as we go, and we don't want it to be showing through on our project. I have lost the comments, so I do apologize, but I really hope you guys are enjoying it and that you've learned a thing or two. One thing I forgot to mention is that the foiling feature is not compatible with the mobile Cricut Design Space, so it is best to use your laptop for this feature. Oh, that is looking so cute. And this is the perfect table decor for our National Heritage Day, or like we like to call it, Friday, to have for your friends and family that are coming over to enjoy some time together. And you can make it bigger or smaller, have the names written, give it to them as a little party favor, which also will be a very cute idea. And this is the last layer. Very tiny border. And this, of course, you could also have a border within it with some foil as well, just to create that little extra sparkle. Would also be a very cool addition. And I am just so excited to see what you all are going to be creating. Okay, our last layer. There we go. And there is our little shadow box. And we are just going to be gluing our little stand, our little flap. So where the score line was created, we're just going to add some glue over here. Aligning it over there, the bottom left, gluing just that layer. And whoops, allowing it to dry. Okay, give it a minute or two just to dry. And there you have it. We have created our very own 7-layer shadow box from scratch, each layer individual and incredibly beautiful with that beautiful foil sparkle accents, just to give it that wow factor and a bit of a beautiful addition. I'm so glad and so happy that you joined tonight. I hope you learned something new, and I'm super excited to see your creations. And sorry for going over time and for the technical difficulties, but we have conquered. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining, and goodbye.